Hi, I'm Marlow Artis. Thank you so much for visiting my blog, Tar Heel Teachers. Today I'm at the Global Learning Center here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is owned and operated by Donna Vann. She's the principal over at Glendale Acres Elementary School, and currently she is in the midst of a campaign to join the Cumberland County Schools Board of Education as an at-large member. How are you doing today, Ms. Vann?
I'm great, Marlow. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me and agreeing to speak with me, especially on a Friday afternoon after you've been at work all week. Have you had a good week over at Glendale Acres?
Oh, it's a wonderful week.
Wonderful.
It's always a wonderful week at Glendale.
What do you enjoy most about your work over at Glendale Acres?
My boys and girls. We're small. We're K-2. And it's a small staff. We have 12 regular classroom teachers and one self-contained autistic class. And we're just a small family, and we all love working together. So it's never a bad day at Glendale.
So this is your 31st year in education?
My 32nd year.
32nd year.
Yeah, I completed 31.
Wow. And so after 32 years in the system, what made you decide to join this race for the school board election?
I had for years been saying, when I retire, I'd like to run for school board. I don't think I ever can give up Cumberland County Schools, but I feel like I'm from Fayetteville. I've been a student in Cumberland County. I've been a teacher. I've been a parent, and I've been on the administrative side. And so I want to sort of step over, not go to central services, but step over that little threshold and be a part of some decision making in Cumberland County. And these at-large seats came about, and it was the perfect time for me to do it. And so I'm ready.
Ready. So what kind of teacher were you? Where did you teach and what did you teach?
I taught kindergarten and first grade in a pod situation at Ferguson Easley when I first started teaching for Mr. James Purcell. And then I left there and went to Lucille Souders, where I taught first grade. And then I became part-time assistant principal, so they hired a retired first grade teacher, and she taught half a day, and I did my assistant principal half a day, and then I taught the other half. And then went to T.C. Berrien, and I was assistant principal, and through a grant I was called a lead teacher. And we put in a lot of initiatives there, and back then we were doing CAT testing, and we really brought our scores up a lot through those initiatives with the lead teacher program. And then I went to Rockfish, and I was there 7 years as an assistant principal. Altogether, I was an assistant principal for 13 years.
13 years.
But kindergarten and first grade were, and second grade, that was my love.
How long were you in the classroom?
I was in the classroom 7 years. 7 years.
And then you were assistant principal for 13, and you've been a principal for how long?
I've been at Glendale for, this is my 15th year. Does that add up? Maybe.
We're not math teachers.
No. But then again, I was half-time at some point. So,
so sometimes it kind of does average out. So how would you bring all of that work and all those experiences, how would you bring that to the school board?
Well, I feel like with the school board, we've got wonderful people on the school board. But it needs to be, I think we need a good mix of people who understand not just the business part or the political part of making decisions for a school system, but to understand what actually the effects these decisions have in the classroom and on children. A lot of the times on paper or when you hear of something, it might sound wonderful and that it would be a great initiative to put in, but you have to think about exactly when it gets to the classroom, what is it going to take to put that in? Also, how is it going to affect the parents. How's it going to affect the teachers, the children, all that whole aspect. And I feel like as a former teacher, as a former parent, both of my children graduated from Cumberland County Schools. And as a community business owner, a small business owner, I feel like I have an interest in all of that, and I could bring some of that too in making decisions. Number one, for what's best for the children.
I think that's really profound because, I mean, you have so many vast experiences, and I've seen you kind of run the whole gamut. If you had to say which role has actually prepared you the most for being on the school board, which would you say?
I would have to say my role as a principal, and actually as a principal at Glendale. As I said, we're small, we're a family. So however my teachers feel, I know. They come to me and they tell me. We don't hold things back. I'm in every classroom every day, and I'm not in there to see what they're doing wrong. I'm in there to support them and to just say good job, or I'm in there, so I know. And when they're stressed, I know it. And if a teacher is not happy or not or is overly stressed, they can't be effective. And what the most important thing of anything is effective instruction.
Right.
And how it's going to affect the children, because they're number one. And so you have to know how the whole thing is going to roll out. And so I think being at a small, not just being a principal, but being at a small school where there's no secrets, and if they don't like something, they have no problems telling me. And so I know how they feel, and I feel like when they feel that way, I do too. So I think that's
Really
what has
empathetic.
prepared me and made me want to be able to speak for them and speak for the children. As I said, because if they cannot be effective, then we don't have effective instruction.
Do you have an open door policy over at Glendale? Do you anticipate that if you are elected, you're going to have an open door policy with teachers, with parents,
yes.
and they'll be able to come to you for whatever they need,
Oh,
especially
yes.
being an at-large member?
And they need somebody they feel comfortable. And as I said, parents and anybody. As I said, my teachers don't have a problem with it, and they don't want me to run, because if I run, I do have to retire. But then again, they're sort of excited because they know what I stand for, and I'm not. I say what I think. I'm not bold, but I say what I think. I stand up for what I believe in,
Right.
and I stand up for them, and they always know that.
So the teachers, they're anticipating that it may be bittersweet if you have to
Exactly.
leave. How do you feel about that? That if you have to give up a role that you've had for 15 years and being an employee in order to go to the other side, how do you feel about that?
It is very bittersweet. But I also know that with me, as much as I love Glendale, I don't know that I could ever just walk out of Glendale and go home. I think I would never, it's not have the nerve, but I just don't, I love them, and I don't think I could just walk out and go home. And I want to be able to still be a part of all of that. And so it would be bittersweet, but that's the only way I think they're going to get me to go.
If they have another world for you. Ms. Vann, we would have to say that assessments is such a huge part of education. You give assessments over at Glendale. At my school, we have to do assessments. It's such a big part of what we do. What grade would you give the current school board if you had to? A letter grade.
Okay. Well, that would be difficult. When you think about the grades that we give students, we never give a student just one grade. We give them a grade for math, for reading, for writing, social studies, science, and all of that. And when you think about the school board, they have their personnel committee or decisions they make, and their budget, and all the different areas that they deal with. And so I don't want to give each area a grade, so if I put all of that together, I think I would give them B plus.
Okay. So is there any particular, you mentioned those different committees, because that's a big responsibility with the school board. Is there any particular committee that you feel would be suitable to your strengths?
Well, I think the reason why the first two that came to my mind when I said that to you, I said budget and personnel. And I think both of those I feel pretty strong in. I mean, I've been doing school budgets for a while, and I know that's a small school, and it's a small budget compared to what they deal with, but
You have the experience.
I have the experience, and I'd like to see money going to the classrooms, to the students and materials, and actually going towards instruction. And same thing with personnel, when we look at personnel. So I'd have to, I think that's why they came to mind first. And but I think I could be strong in any area on the school board.
Do you think there are any incentives that we can offer for our teachers? A lot of teachers are migrating from Cumberland County, students are migrating. Do you think there's any incentives that we can offer for our teachers to stay here in Cumberland County that may not cost us a lot of money, but might be able to encourage some people to stay within our system?
Well, I know that to get them here, years ago, we used to partner with a lot of different, like apartment buildings and utilities, phone, all of that. We used to partner with them, and they would give discounts or waive fees, things like that. And we had a whole packet that was put together to give to new teachers for them to come. And when they moved here, a lot of people benefited from that. And that's not in place anymore. So that would be getting them here. I think our mentoring program that we have with the ILTs or the BTs, beginning teachers, is very important. The Lead Success program is very important. And now they have started the PALS. And with that, it gives a lot of support. I feel like at individual schools, if the teachers get the support that they need and feel like that that they're being successful, I think that's one way to keep them. There's nothing we can do about what the state pays us.
Right.
So we can't do that. But if I think, because emotions play a big part in what people do. And if you feel wanted, you feel needed, and you feel successful, I think that's one way to keep them. And by having all that support. Now, one thing we do at Glendale is we work in teams, not just grade level teams, but also vertical teams. And when I interview, the team interviews, if I need a first grade teacher, then the first grade teachers plus the kindergarten and second grade teacher from that team, we all interview. They pick each other, and so they've got a vested interest in it. So not only, it's not like, oh, I've got to work with, you know how people can be.
Right.
They've picked them, they want to see them be successful, and that's where that family comes in. And so they're never alone. They have a mentor. They have their vertical teammates, they're like first grade, kindergarten, and second grade, and they have their grade level.
Wow.
And our grade level meets, I give them time each day. There's a different grade level meeting, and they start at 1:15. So like first grade meets on Tuesdays at 1:15, and that way they're not there till 6 o'clock, and they're meeting with the instructional coach, and they're planning and doing things together. So there's that collaboration and teamwork and support, and it's amazing what they come out and what I hear they've talked about, and the questions, and they send questions to me. So as I said, I think I've probably rambled on, and you want to get a lot of that out, but I think that the emotional, if they have an emotional attachment, they'll stay.
Good. I referenced earlier about the fact that the numbers are down for students. It was reported in the newspaper. Do you think there's a way that we can get our numbers? How can we work on getting our numbers up for our students? Because it seems they migrated some way. Do you have any theory as to where they may be and how to get the numbers up?
I know that we had a new charter school to open this school year. We've had quite a few in the past, 5 or 10 years, of private schools to open. And I think positive, not advertisement, but
Just highlighting some of our
image,
successes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a positive image. If we could promote that instead of the negatives, you know, we hear anything that, and it's just like this for anything in the
Right.
news. We hear the bad things that go on, but do we hear the great things that go on? Not really. I know that in the we used to, and I think they still do it at the end of the year. People who the whole school system, and they have that big. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they recognize all these people, you know, because there's so many, and they recognize them. But see, only their families and people that are there know about it and see it, and it's not a, you know. But I think if the newspaper and the news, if they talked about those things instead of that somebody had a knife at school.
Right.
And
Really
it's
mobilizing the community and focusing on our positive aspects.
Exactly. But an example of that is the high schools have the HOSA program. And each year they have regionals, and the top winners in the region go to state, and the top winners in the state go to nationals. This past year in nationals, Terry Sanford alone, now children from Cape Fear went, Terry Sanford, the year before, on the bus, we also had Westover to ride the bus. We went to Tennessee, but last year it was in Florida. But Terry Sanford alone had a national first place winner.
Never heard anything about this.
And that was in sports medicine. They got a $1,500 scholarship or check for from because it was in sports medicine from, I think it was Athletic Trainers or whatever association. In CPR and first aid, which are teams of two, Terry Sanford had a second place national winner in CPR and first aid. Not one thing has ever been said about it, and the newspaper knows about it. They've been told. But it's that kind of thing. You know, if my child was at a private school and didn't have a chance to have experiences like that, you know, these kids went up against kids in all 50 states, against Hawaii, against some schools that have actual, that's what they do every day is CPR and first aid. They have that program in their school, and Terry Sanford had a team that beat them. And so, you know, wouldn't that be a wonderful story to tell? And but it's not. That's not what we hear about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In order, we've got to celebrate not only our fantastic teachers and our fantastic students, but all our fantastic parents. So we have so many different people. I was looking at our newsletter, and they had all these, the regional person of the year and this person of the year. We got the media coordinator of the year, who's the top 4 finalists for the state. I mean, we have a lot of positive things going on in our school system. I think you're absolutely right that we do need to highlight that. So we have some people, if they're watching and they're on the fence about they should vote for Donna Vann, what does a vote for Donna Vann mean?
It means a vote for the whole school community. As I said before, I feel like that with my experiences, and I didn't think to say this earlier, but you know, I grew up, my mother was an educator. My mother actually graduated from Fayetteville High School in 1948.
Was that in Terry Sanford right now?
Yes.
Okay.
And of course it wasn't that building, it was the Alexander Graham building downtown. And then started teaching in 1952. And, you know, so I came from all of that, and you know, Cumberland County Schools just, that is my life. That's what it's always been. So as I said, you know, being a student, being a parent, and both my boys, you know, went on to college. One of them just graduated from high school and is in his first year in college. And you know, he's ready for college. He actually went into college with 42 credit hours.
Wow.
So, you know, it's just, as I said, there's great things that we don't know about. So I feel like I'm a voice. I can represent the students because they are number one. I can represent the parents because I know what I wanted from kindergarten on up from my children. And I know that our parents want the same thing for theirs. And the community. this learning center, we're a big part of the community, and of course we still work with children because that's my passion. I want them to be successful, and that's why we opened this in the first place. So what they would be getting would be, I represent all of them, and so a vote for me is a vote for them as well.
Well, I wish you the best. I've enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Well, thank
And
you.
I wish you the best in November. And the voting date is November the
4th.
November the 4th.
Yes.
So you got a decision to make. But I do thank you so much for taking time to sit with me, and I wish you the best.
Well, thank you, Marlow. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.